No, I'm not convinced about that at all. This campaign has now been going on for since early June, so we're talking 2 months of this campaign. There have been an unprecedented number of Labour Party members, supporters and members of the general public coming to the hustings discussions and debates. In Birmingham, we had 1,500 people on a Saturday morning for hustings of the candidates for leader and later for deputy leader. And what's interesting to me is in our campaign, lots of young people becoming involved, often for the first time, in politics because they do think that there needs to be a challenge to the cross-party agreement that was around on variations of austerity in the general election. And young people are excited by this. Isn't that a good thing?
The excitement, of course, you can't say it's anything but a good thing, but aren't you a bit worried in your heart of hearts, say you do win this leadership race, that you won't be able to deliver the goods? I mean, people describe you, Frank Field describes you as a deficit denier, and you might be in danger, might you not, of becoming a bit of a Nick Clegg figure, who lots of young people really put their vested interests in. They wanted him in power because of what he said about tuition fees, and then he went back on it. Are you not worried that you're saying all these wonderful things while you're not in power and you won't be able to deliver them?
This is a serious campaign, and we put forward serious economic strategies, serious social strategies, housing and all other things. This isn't something that is grown out of the ether and hot air. I believe very strongly that the role of the party and of government is to unite people. I do think we need to sort of develop a narrative that we live in a society where, sadly, we seem to tolerate the most grotesque levels of inequality, the most grotesque levels of homelessness and rough sleeping, and somehow or other say it's all right, and then promote a welfare reform bill which will make the situation dramatically worse, and a budget which actually removes child benefit from the larger families. That seems to me grossly unfair.
What you could also say is grossly unfair on a personal level to you is some of the animosity you faced from your Labour colleagues, some of whom put you forward in the first place, like Margaret Beckett, you mentioned her earlier. How are you personally, I just wondered, coping with that animosity?
It's part of life's rich tapestry. I never indulge in any degree of personal abuse towards anybody. If people wish to be personally abusive to me, well, that's for them to deal with in their own mind and their own conscience. I'm more interested in society, in politics, and on how people's views
come territory, doesn't it? I mean, you could say it's an unfortunate mechanism of politics, but the minute you put yourself into the limelight, which is why so many people, women and men, don't want to go into politics, you do get this microscope. And I've seen that your first wife has been doing interviews this weekend. I mean, do you find that difficult, this level of personal scrutiny that you're now coming under? Because people like Chuka Umunna, fell out of the Labour leadership race because he said his family couldn't cope with the scrutiny.
It is very sad that some sections of the media are incapable of engaging in any of this at a political level and engage in it solely at a level of personal intrusion and personal abuse. And does it hurt those around me? Yeah. It does.
So are you preparing for leadership right now? How are you doing that?
Well, look, we've got now a while to go because we don't even know who the electorate are finally going to be, because people can still join the party and can still register.
And there is the concern some naughty people are joining to vote you in because they want to destroy the Labour Party. Naughty
people shouldn't join. They should only join and register supporters if they're genuine supporters and become genuine members of the party. But we'll see what happens.
I do also have to ask, because some of our listeners are also Mumsnet users. There was a discussion that may have caught your attention the other day about you being quite sexy on Mumsnet forum. Did you see that?
This is the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard.
I have to ask what the listeners want to know. How do you react to that? We talked about your family, but just for you personally.
I had a bit of a chuckle about it and actually a bit embarrassed, to be quite honest.
That was Jeremy Corbyn being very, very bashful there about some of the views some of you have had about him on Mumsnet. If you have a view on anything he said, if you have a view on his Women's Manifesto, do get in touch with us via the website or on Twitter at BBC Woman's Hour.